Hey, everybody out there. This is a podcast that I'm launching. Something that I've been asked about in the past, and I've posted, reels and ideas of things and shared some of my ideas on social media over the last several years. And so I figured, I'm going to give this a shot. So, Shalom Aleichem, welcome, peace unto you and to everyone out there, wherever you are in the world. This is the Anchors of Hope. Anchors of Hope, a podcast for visionary courage. And really, it's an opportunity to step away from the politics, to step away from society's ills. Society is in disease. Disease. They're not uncomfortable. And really to try to create a space where we remain hopeful, optimistic, knowing that better days are ahead, preferring to immerse ourselves in healthy dialogue and conversation, and maybe even learn something. Learn something that is applicable to our day-to-day lives, enabling us to see beyond that which is distracting us, and distracting us not for the good, but leading us astray. So just a little bit about this podcast. This is the introductory podcast, Anchors of Hope. It is what I hope it's a transformative podcast. I hope it is something that leaves you thinking, maybe even leaves you feeling different or thinking differently about life in general, or where you are in life, or what is happening around us in this world, in society. And the idea here is that we're going to explore the profound metaphor of hope, which is humanity's most powerful navigation tool. As we, the Am Israel, the Jewish people, we know the story of never losing hope despite it all, and I'll talk about that in another podcast. Here we still are, active and contributing to humanity to the extent that we can. David Grossman, an well-known Israeli author, once shared, quote, "And hope can be seen as a kind of anchor, which is thrown out of a suffocated and desperate existence towards a better and freer future." Imagine throwing that anchor of hope into the future and pulling yourself towards it. The podcast invites you all to cast your anchors toward possibilities that exist first in your heart's imagination and eventually becoming a reality. The podcast centers on this compelling vision of hope as an optimistic act that demonstrates the freedom of the human spirit. When we dare to throw our imaginary anchor beyond tangible circumstances, we reveal that within each soul lies an untouchable place, a space of freedom, one that cannot be suppressed or polluted by external forces. And the idea here is that we've got to peel away at the distractions. We've got to have the capacity, the ability to look beyond what is happening right before our eyes, because that's where we explore and identify, discover potential, the greatest potential. It's when we peel away at those layers of distractions. And Jewish mysticism or Kabbalah is the idea that, like an orange, for example, you peel away at the orange in order to get the essence of the orange, the smell, the taste, the experience of appreciating and enjoying that orange. Also in life, we have to peel away at the barriers, the distractions that don't allow us to see what is right happening before us, that don't allow us to experience or to be in a place of revelation, reception, Kabbalah, to the universe, which is providing us with infinite potential. That's where the notion of Ein Sof, infinite, comes from. There is infinite opportunity and potential taking place all around us if we only peel away at the distractions and the things that we think are important. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel of blessed memory once taught, things when magnified are forgeries of happiness. Things when magnified are forgeries of happiness. And so We put so much value in things. I got to get that new iPhone, or I need that new pair of sneakers, or I need that new version of this or that car, or whatever that thing is. And then we have it, we get it, and that yearning desire kind of dissipates, gets lost. And then we want the next version. It just never ends. It's a forgery of happiness. And so my hope is that we figure out a way to be conscious, to stay conscious in our day-to-day, to avoid those distractions which prohibit us from becoming the best version of ourselves, of who we are and who we know we're supposed to become. Because when that happens, the potential, the opportunity is infinite, from the people we meet on a day-to-day basis, from the experiences we have, which deserve our attention and commentary and understanding of why things that are happening to us, or why am I meeting this or that person at this specific moment? Why did I just have this or that conversation? What are the opportunities that are coming before me, and how could I live a life of purpose and meaning that is right for me? Be yourself. Everyone else is taken. And so what I'm hoping to do on this podcast, Anchors of Hope, is to get into some of the most pressing questions that face us, modern Jewish identity and global citizenship, these sort of parallel tracks we live on, the particularism and the universalism of Jewish identity and being a global citizen, exploring tensions between the particular and the universal in a framework that I call Tikkun Israel versus Tikkun Olam. What comes first, healing ourselves or healing the world? We want to heal the world, and good on us, 0.02% of the global population, and we're going to heal the world. But right now, I think we need some healing too. Am Yisrael, the Jewish people globally and here in Israel, we need some healing. We need some fixing. So Tikkun Israel preceding Tikkun Olam. We're going to encounter some nuanced discussion here, thinking a bit differently about things. And I'm hoping that this podcast will also address some of the realities that we're faced with, examining who we are between the October 6th versus the October 8th Jews, of course, keeping in mind what happened on October 7th. But what did we, or global Jewry, experience on October 8th in reaction to that day? And something that I believe is happening right now that we are living within and maybe aren't noticing because of the distractions is what I think is happening today is a modern day Jewish Renaissance. There's an awakening that's taking place. Here in Israel and around the world, there is a Renaissance that is taking place. And I believe that in 100, 150 years, less or more, history will be teaching and people will be talking about this period of time. What is happening to Am Yisrael and the Jewish people with the awakening and the Renaissance, and by extension, humanity. Because our experience in this world throughout history ought not be learned about, talked about, reflected on in a vacuum. It has to be studied, particularly, of course, in terms of what are we experiencing in this world, but also in parallel to what is happening in the world. Because what's happening to us is also reflective of what is happening to society, the Western world, as we see it happening and unfolding before us. My hope is that these conversations will resonate with us all, discussing identity, purpose, and belonging in this increasingly complex world. My approach is to avoid reinforcing divisions. My hope is that this podcast will emphasize building bridges through dialogue. Dialogue is educative, in the words of John Dewey, education thought leader and practitioner, 1915. Dialogue is educative. We learn through dialogue. Some of the episodes and the titles I'm going to be putting out there are going to include, for example, Israel advocates versus education diplomats. What do we prefer? After 25 years of advocacy, how far has it gotten us? Do we want an advocacy approach or perhaps a diplomatic approach? Do we want a mix of both? Israel and global Jewry, how do we bridge the gap? How do we recognize the experiences we are having here in the Middle East versus anywhere else in the world, specifically in the West, in Europe, in the United States, Latin America, Central America. And I'm hoping that this podcast will also demonstrate how nuanced conversation can heal generational and cultural divides while we maintain authentic convictions. We don't have to agree on it all. So beyond the philosophical exploration, I'm also hoping that this podcast will provide some concrete tools for personal growth. I'm hoping that episodes that deal with or reflect on discovering leadership and action-oriented people, facilitation skills for difficult conversations, and forming authentic opinions. These should all empower all of us, all the listeners, whoever will be coming to join us on this podcast. It should be empowering you to become agents of positive change for yourselves, for your families, by extension your communities, and hopefully maybe even society. The podcast also seeks to reframe Zionism not as a political movement or an ideological movement, but as a way of life, exploring how Am Yisrael Chai, we chant this Am Yisrael Chai, and for those of you who know me out there, how Am Yisrael Chai transcends slogan to become transformative practice. It's not just a slogan, it's a way of life. I'm hoping that this approach is new and fresh and maybe appealing to some of you out there, if not many of you, and will help enhance and advance the discussion. While rooted in Jewish experience, this podcast's exploration of struggle, purpose, and hope speaks to universal human experiences. The concept of Israel, wrestling with purpose, which should resonate with anyone who seeks meaning and direction in life. So my hope is that Anchors of Hope will speak to anyone who is ready to move beyond despair and towards purposeful action. Whether you're navigating questions of identity, seeking tools for difficult conversations, or yearning to understand how individual transformation connects to broader social change, my hope is for this podcast to offer both inspiration and practical wisdom for the journey ahead. So stay tuned for more episodes coming on this new podcast that I've launched, Anchors of Hope, with me, Rabbi Lior Sinai. And remember, Am Yisrael Chai, it's not just a slogan, it's a way of life.